Hi, guys. My name is Shannon Bennett, and I survived an oilfield accident, and this is my story.
Hey guys, our guest today has a story you truly will not forget. She survived an oil field fire, endured burns to over 87% of her body, and was given a 120% chance of not surviving. In other words, the doctors were more than certain she wasn't going to make it, but she did. And not only did she survive, she turned that survival into purpose, becoming a mentor, a light, and a source of strength for so many other burn survivors. From the Honey House Entertainment Production Studio, my name is Zello Rose, and this is the Life in Many Colors podcast. And we welcome Shannon Bennett.
Thank you.
All right, Shannon. June 26, 2007. Take me back to that day. What happened?
So I was working alone on location that day. I had this particular unit was down. It's called a D-high, so it was down when I showed up. So my usual method is I'd open the doors up to ventilate the building out. I would go do my other work, check gauge tanks, take notes. I was pulling bottom on one of my production tanks. So I was on location from my notes, I was on location about 45 minutes. And the last thing we always did before we left location was relight the D-high. So from the time I lit the torch is where my memory comes back. I remember everything from the time I lit the torch and the building went up in flames.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
And you were in an oil field. What was your job?
so we were contract pumpers. So what we did is we checked and we report. So we show up on location, a location that's already manned and running, like it's already running, it's already complete. And so we show up and we check and report, we gauge tanks. If there's little problems, we fix them. If there's bigger problems, we call out a crew to come fix them. And that's what we did. Our title was contract pumpers.
Okay, got you. And you said you lit a torch and then the whole building went up in flames?
So this particular unit was down, so I needed to relight the pilot light. So when I lit the torch to relight the pilot is when the building went up in flames. So everything was engulfed in flames, including me.
Wow. Do you remember anything from the explosion at all?
Yes. So once I caught fire, I ran to the back of the building, and which there was no exit door there. So, I had my thought. I was like, well, I can either stand in here. If I stand in here, I'm going to stand in here and die. Or I need to tuck and run back through the fire, which was shooting out the only exit door that I had, because it was shooting out the chamber, which was shooting directly out the door that I had to get out. So I was like, well, I can stand here and die, or I can tuck and run. And, my son at the time, he was 10. So I was like, I need to be here for my son. So that was the last thought I had, and I just tucked and I ran back through the fire and I got out and I did the stop, drop, and roll, which was not effective on in that area. It was rock based, oil covered rock, is pretty much what it was. And so I ended up ripping off the rest of the clothes that I had on. And so I got out of the building, got the fire put out. The little trim around my boots was still on fire, so I had to throw dirt on that. The only thing I had left on was my boots, and everything else was gone. So I started to get in my vehicle to drive up the road, because where that location sat, it sat in a draw, so there was no cell phone coverage. So I started to get in my vehicle, and I thought, well, the compressor is still running, which is now pumping gas into the unit that's on fire. So my thought was to try and contain the fire, keep it contained to that location. So I went into the compressor and I got the compressor turned off. And then I went around the building that was on fire. And I remember that being super scary to me because I mean, it was just raging at that point. And so I ran around that building and got the sales line shut down. And then had to get my vehicle and drive up the road, about a half a mile up the road to get cell phone coverage,
Oh
and
my gosh.
was able to make the 911 call. It was the old
Jeez.
back then it was the old analog flip phone. So
Mm.
yeah, it was. I was able to press the buttons and get the call out. And once I made the call, and I got once I knew she knew where I was at, because I'm in an oil field location in the middle of Wyoming, 15 miles out of town. But once I knew she knew where I was at is when the adrenaline started coming down. I started coming down off of that, and then that's when the pain started to set in, you know.
Mm.
And it was, yeah. But the 911 operator, um she asked me, she said, "Well, do you have water?" And I said, "Yeah, I got some water." And I remember trying to open the bottle, and I said, "I can't get it open. The bottle's wet." Well, I don't think it was wet. I think it was the skin coming off of my hands. But I don't remember visually, like, none of it, which is fine with me that I don't remember
Yeah.
that. But I was trying to open, I couldn't get it open. So I used my teeth, which I do all the time, now, which I get in trouble with my dentist. But
Mm.
so I got it open with my teeth, and I took a couple drinks and I poured the rest on my face. And, she's like, "Well," and I think the call dropped. The call dropped a couple times. And so I called back and she's like, "Well, do you have anything to cover up with?" And I was like, I looked in my back seat because I had just picked up my husband's eider down sleeping bag from the dry cleaners. It cost me $25 to get it cleaned. And it was like a month long process to take it to town, because I lived about 60 miles from town. Take it to town, drop it off, get it clean, and get it picked up. So I really did not want to get it dirty again, because I'm like, I'm going to have to do this all over again. I just picked it up today. So I looked at it and I said, "Well, not really." And I said, "I got this sleeping bag." And I'm pretty sure she yelled at me to cover up with it. So I pulled it out of the bag, and just the top half, I just covered up with the top half. Well, I was sitting in the vehicle. So, and then I sat there and waited for EMS.
How long did they take to get there?
Well, I was 15 miles out of town. So maybe, I don't really know. I
Okay.
can't I can't imagine it taking longer than 10, because they would have been booking. They would
Okay.
have been flying out there. But the crazy thing is a week prior, up in Wyoming, they have fire markers on their fence posts. So, and this is June, so it's fire season. So I'm like, well, I need to clean the brush away from the fire marker so they can see the number that's on the post. So if somebody calls in a fire, they'll be like, "Oh, it's at fire marker 1525." So I just cleared that off the week before. And so the number was in my head, and I'm like, I'm at fire marker 1525. That's the driveway to get in here, which the location was another couple miles once you turned in the driveway up the road. So it
Mm.
was pretty important to make that turn right there, because that was the road that got them
Yeah.
in there. So yeah, I thought that was pretty it was pretty crazy that just a week prior that I had done that.
That is very crazy, almost synchronistic in a weird way. For people who haven't experienced it before, how does it feel in the moment to be burned alive?
I don't really remember the a physical feeling. It was more of like a shock. It was an instant shock, and then just straight to survival mode. Like straight to, I got to get business handled. I got to get out of here. I got to get things shut down. So Like it was just a complete just a shock. And like I said, I didn't feel any of the pain until everything kind of calmed down, and that's when everything started hurting.
What did that feel like? The pain when all the
Uh,
adrenaline wore off?
I don't know if there's really a way to describe it, because most people have been burned. So like if you feel if you got a burn on your arm or whatever, and take that and multiply it, I mean, there's just road rash, like wrecking your bike
Yeah.
is a good one. If you've ever wrecked your bike and skidded down the
Mhm.
pavement for a little bit of time and taken that first layer off, that's a good one, because then, okay, good luck trying to bend your arm. That's a good, yeah, only like whole body.
Got you.
Yeah, like that, like road rash only, like your whole body.
Got
I
you.
mean, because there's really, I don't think an explanation. Uh, I mean, how do you describe something so painful?
No clue.
Like the most painful thing you have, but magnify that by, 100-fold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've been through a lot. Needless to say. Um, when you were taken to the hospital, tell me about that experience. What happened when they took you in?
Well, so I was naked. So when EMS showed up, they roll up and they pull the gurney out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting in my car. I'm like, well, I got to get out and mosey on over to the gurney, and I just got boots on, and I'm in an oil field. I'm in the middle of Wyoming, naked with just boots. So I was like, look, I don't have any clothes on, like, I'm naked. And they were very kind, "It's okay." And I can't even imagine what I must have looked like. I didn't see that. I'm just like, "I'm walking over here naked." And I'm like, "Okay, they're medical people. They've seen this before." Well, probably, not to that extreme, but I'm just like, yep, it was mortifying. So I got out of my car and moseyed over to the gurney, and I can't remember if they covered me up or not, but I really wanted them to just knock me out. I'm like, you just got to knock me out, and they were having a hard time, find getting a line in, and I'm like, just if you got a hammer, just knock me out. I can deal with the head injury, deal with that later. Like,
Jesus.
I don't care. Just
Yeah,
you
at
got to
that
knock
point.
me out, and the pain was so bad. And so we get to the hospital, and it's just a little regional hospital, and um I was like, so, am I gonna have to stay here overnight? Can I get some ointment, and will I be able to go home? And they're like, no, you're gonna be here for a little while. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay.